Okay, once again, we are spiritual beings in a physical body. Our thought creates reality, and we're all connected. We're spiritual beings. That means we are not of the body really, not of the body really. The body is our vehicle, avatar, if you like. That's a word that is a new word that I think applies for the spirit to be here in this physical, very low density realm, shall we say. That's how it is, okay? It's like that. It is a low density realm. It's low frequency. It's artificial, and it's not real. Our thought creates reality, and we are in this artificial, negative kind of dark realm. And because we are in a dark, low frequency realm, Earth as it is now, our thinking is negative and low frequency and dark too. So therefore, we keep the Earth at that level, okay? Now, because of that, and we're all connected, so this spreads and is passed around. But it is not passed around, as well as what it should be anyway, because there is the frequencies and the artificial internet that governs the planet. The technology is artificial. Human beings are spiritual beings and are not artificial. I must emphasize that. They're natural, they're spiritual. Even though their human body is so technically perfect that it is like a computer, the most advanced computer that is imaginable. But even that, I would look down upon my body right now because it is not at anywhere near full capacity. It is at 0.5% capacity in comparison to 100%. This is because we are in this realm which is dark, which is negative energy, which is low frequency, and it is kept that way by the human beings being kept in a negative frequency, low, dark energy. Then, the frequency, I'm not a scientist, so it's hard for me to explain, but we are as the human being creates the reality with their thinking, with others, because we're all connected. So it's a joint thing, but we're now jointly connected by this dark internet, okay? I say dark because it's a low frequency too. That's the idea, because this is a dark planet. I shouldn't use the word planet, I want to, sorry, but force of habit, force of conditioning, okay? The earth realm, it doesn't matter if I do use planet, don't take it literally, because because we're now realizing that we're in such a deceptive illusion planet almost, that everything is not what it appears to be. It's impossible to say 100% what the true nature of this actual world universe it really is. I, waking up to realize that everything is so false and so contrived and so controlled and so manipulated and so well, like I've said before, it's a virtual reality video game, except that we are players in it, or more like pawns, really, because we're pawns because we play in it, but we're really almost picked up like a pawn and directed. Now, we still have free will, but that is very not as much useful to us anymore because whereas once, a long, long time ago, that free will meant that we, yes, could manipulate the reality of this world more because as you change society and as you change the world to where it is more regimented, shall we say, more driven, I'm trying to find the right description, but it's a bit like if you have security, right? That security will protect you, but it will also restrict you, okay? If you're following me. So there's the thing, so the world we live in, the more we, the more we have, the more we don't control it personally at a natural level, the more it is controlled by technology, etc., then it ceases to be even more our domain. And then we are in that dark, low frequency energy domain. So that, and like I said before, it's a catch-22, it's a cycle. It just keeps going round then. You almost don't have to do much because we will perpetuate our own negative low frequency energy. It will just keep going round. It will go from one to the other. It's hard to explain, but if you kind of get what I'm saying, it's not that hard to imagine. It'd be a bit like if you've got a group of people and one of them is being really aggressive and really angry and fighting with another one, that will create negative energy for the group. And in the end, they will probably even join in the fight. They'll take sides. They'll get into it. And then you have chaos, negative energy, low frequency. You have, that anger, all that is low frequency. And even to the minute you fight against the other uh, person, you're automatically creating negative energy because that is part of you because we're all connected. So therefore you're bringing it back to yourself in a funny kind of way, like it will bounce onto them but bounce back at you because as strange as it may seem, all is frequency, vibration and energy. That's the law of the universe, evidently, and I was new to find that out. So if you think about that, if everything is frequency, vibration and energy, that means the frequency you put out, the vibration, the good or the bad, I don't understand it because I'm not a scientist, and even science probably doesn't understand it. But it's just, if you put it down to a very basic common sense level of feeling good or bad, being happy or being angry, depressed or fearful, particularly it's okay to get a bit angry, but if that anger is directed towards another person, that creates bad energy because we're connected and it goes round. But if you're just angry, I would think, this is just because I don't think that you can help but get angry with a negative world. That to me makes sense. But if you don't blame another human for it so much and don't direct your energy at specific individuals, then that won't come back to you, and it won't go round so much. Whereas, because you can't help, as I say, if you're in a totally negative realm, as humans are now, It's almost impossible to generate really high good energy. Now, some people are managing to do that. I'm not quite sure how they do it. They must be very remarkable indeed. But maybe their circumstances are a little bit better. See, this is the point too, is that if you have, and maybe, I'm not sure why, they have, because generally in this world, because it is an Archon controlled Earth, generally I would say that if the frequency gets too high, that changes the reality, and therefore that then means that the Archon entities, minions, they have minions and followers and disciples and servants, etc. Different, I'm not going to go into that. I think I have in the other videos, different interdimensional beings, shall we say. But even if you want to take it just at the human level, I've said that before, if you don't want to go to what a lot of people would consider to be too far-fetched, and I don't blame them there, but I think that personally, I think that it's not that unreasonable to go too far-fetched, because if you're dealing with advanced technology and you really realise how much this earth is a video game and artificial and all false and fake in every way, and then you do start to say, look, this is totally not what I thought, so therefore anything is possible, and if anything is possible, that's right, anything is possible, and you would have to acknowledge the possibility of advanced beings, advanced, as I've said before, technologically and intelligent-wise, etc., but very much devoid of spirituality, I would have to say, because they have created a dark energy earth. Their realm is low frequency, dark energy, shall we say, keeping it low and keeping humans in that realm too. Now, once again, I'm going to get confused and confuse you, no doubt, with this, and even for me, it is difficult to keep on track. Look, the Earth itself is meant to be, I think, a natural, high vibrational, light energy place. When I say light energy, that just means, I think, because I'm trying to find words, because this is beyond words. You do have to stretch your imagination, and you do have to think of everything on the earth as kind of all vibration, frequency, and energy. So therefore, it's all able to change all the time. A bit like a flower, if you water it and give it nourishment, it will bloom and be beautiful. But if you neglect it and leave it, it will wither and die. So it's kind of like that. And that is really the way it is for all of us as human beings. If we live in this negative, low frequency planet and we entertain that, and we can't not play into that game of it, shall we say, and it's hard not to. It's almost impossible not to, but like I say, that's why I'm saying some human beings, from what I can see, are able to raise their frequency and vibration, right? Now, anyway, just let me finish. The whole earth is like that. So it's a living, it's all life. See, life is like that. Technology is not. Technology is dead. Technology is a dead thing. It has no life. It has no potential to change. It has potential to change us and the world, sure, because it's a low vibration. It's low frequency, it's dark energy. Okay? But humans and life forms are meant to be the opposite to that. But if we entertain that dark energy and that low vibration, that negative, low frequency feelings, because our vibration is all about our emotions and our feelings, because this is what we are. The things that we probably even dislike about ourselves are our assets, but they're being manipulated by the video game virtual reality world that we're in to create negative energy, to create a dark planet, a dark earth, shall I say. And it's hard to explain, but we're all living things, and the earth is all living. The flowers, the trees, all the animals, they're all living things. They're not technology, they're not dead. Technology is dead. Humans and all life forms, biological life forms, you could say, I suppose, are living things. Even though, as I've said before, the human body, which is biological, is the best computer that was ever invented, but it is operating because of the negative world, the low frequency world we live in, the low vibrational, because it operates through that. It's in connection with the earth and all the living things. And it can only vibrate at a high frequency if everything around it is high frequency, okay? So we are in a low frequency world controlled by the Archon God, the dark Archon God, who is of low frequency, low vibration, dark energy. And so we are kept in that. If we were at a high frequency, high vibrational kind of light energy, and that's just a word because really the energy part is only what we create. So it is what we think and feel and our emotions that will create the energy, which is like the matter, the dark world. Oh, it's beyond me, but we're all connected and we're part of this, but we're unaware we're doing it because we're playing in this virtual reality video game where we are the players or the pawns, depending on how you look at it. We started out being the players, but now we've become the pawns, because the more you allow the dark energy, the more you allow the dark energy to infiltrate you, the low frequency, the negative thinking, the anger, the hate, the all that. Once you do that, then you're playing the game so much that you're entrenched in it that you can't that you are then not exercising as much of your free will, because you give that over then to the game. You're giving that over to the dark Archon God entity that is the controller of the virtual reality video game that we call Earth. And the hard thing about it, or the tricky thing about it, is that also humans do this too. Humans are playing in the game. They're playing against one another. They're playing for the god. Some of them play directly, are actually directly aware of this. In other words, they're the servants, the minions, the disciples of the god entity. But most people are kind of like myself for a lifetime, and most people are unaware of this. They're just players or just pawns, and we are not really in contact with the Archon God entity at all. And there again, when I say Archon God entity, look, that's just a title, okay, because that's the best that I can do. I could go into details, but I choose not to, okay. Let me see. Oh, someone just left a message, but unfortunately I'm only using the mobile phone, so, and this is what happens to me quite a bit. In fact, usually I lose the technology, but I haven't got a computer. I'm only using the mobile phone, so, and I just looked at it and I don't know how to keep the details. I wish I could contact some of these people that leave a little message here. I'm guessing that some of them might be in a similar position to myself, or becoming aware of the world being strange to them. I'm not sure about that. I wish I could contact directly and keep the thing so that I can, hold on, let me see. Thomas Yearwood here, 16 Walters Street, Beecroft Road. Someone from London. Oh, okay. So I am. Oh, there's the fly. There again. Even that's from London. That's a long way away. I'm in Sydney. Sydney. It's so strange everywhere. Oh, it's more than strange. In fact, it's more than strange because when you, as I am not so young and I've lived my whole life, oh, thank you very much. That's overwhelmingly touching that, that someone would get something out of what I'm saying because, I'm just doing my best but at the same time, I have been in a state of confusion for quite a while before I was able to piece some of these things together. At first, it was like I was like everybody else. What they say, virtually asleep, okay, and then because I was literally forced to almost wake up to the world being not what it was. So I'm not going to, so I don't give myself as much credit, but at the same time, I also pieced it together that maybe the reason that you get more attacks if you like I say, because it's all frequency and vibration, okay, that really means that if you are about to raise your vibration a little bit, you will have environmental and external circumstances come down on you to try to stop you from raising the vibration. And this is what happens. And then you become aware that, hey, maybe this has been a pattern all our lives. And why? Because if you really, this is just me personally, and I've got sidetracked because I got the little thing off my original thing. But this is because, if you think back over your life, and this probably happens to some people more than others, if you are serving the Archon system, almost you could say, the world, then this will not become very apparent to you. But if you start to raise your vibration, because this is what I felt happened to me, and I think that this must also be, and therefore I was pushed back down, because I think this is because at this present time there's supposed to be more potential than ever before. This is what my information, and it fits what is my reality, that vaster numbers of people than ever before were supposed to see through the illusion and see through the veil of how false this world is. And this was supposed to happen. In other words, just average people were supposed to start seeing it, because some of us were going to raise the vibration a little bit, and that would be passed on. And once you raise the vibration, evidently, because everything's frequency, vibration, and energy, it's like lifting the veil, shall we say. And this is because humans are different to what they think they are. They are not as limited as what we are in this reality. Like I say, I think that we are using about 0.5% of the 100% potential that was always there, but has been gradually taken from us by the Archon type entity, God if you like, that governs, controls, has full dominion over this domain, this earth domain. Now, and like I say, this was a period of time where it probably doesn't happen a real lot, and it is important. It was, in my opinion, and the information I've got, it was absolutely imperative at this period of time that this vibration was passed on to other humans so that many could raise the vibration. Absolutely imperative at this time for that to happen, and should be happening, but is not happening as much. And there again, I do not know really what is really happening to every human individual on the earth. I only know from my own limited surroundings around me, shall we say, my own environment, that it does not appear to be happening. And certainly I feel responsible for that in a way too, because my vibration is being kept low. It is just not possible for me to raise it at this time, with the environment around me being so negative and so destructive. And even if it was neutral, I would have no problem. But also seeing the truth of the world and what is really, to see what is really going on as it has unfolded to me over a short period of time, and so it's a shock too. That naturally keeps the vibration down too, because it's like if you think that the world is, it's not perfect, but you think it's got a 50-50 chance, and you think that humans in general are still working towards something better. But you see, it's almost impossible to work towards something positive when we're fighting ourselves, and we're also kind of fighting something that's invisible. Because if you're assuming, as I would have, even though there again, as I've said before, I was never really involved in the world anyway, which just goes to show you that if you can just raise your vibration just on your own, in other words, you have no interest in anyone or anything, but if you are just content in yourself, which is where I was on the verge of heading, because I had woke up to so many things, even just at a personal level, that is still enough. You could be the most ignorant person in the world, the lowest intelligence, but if you are content in yourself, that vibration will go to numbers of other human beings. You could literally change this earth. That is the joke of it. You don't need to be super educated. You don't need to be a scientist. You don't need to be anything at all. You could be, as I've said before, what some people would look upon as the lowest humans. It might even be looked, but if you are content in yourself, that could do more good to this world than all the information, even all this stuff I'm talking about, which is information, but at the same time, really, that's why I know this, because I was like, hey, I was a very ignorant person. Ignorant in the sense that I wasn't interested in politics or in the world, or particularly even what was going on even in my local area. I used to just say, live and let live. I don't care what they're doing outside my door. I was just almost like, I'll just do my own thing. Everyone else can do their own, as long as I haven't got a bomb going off actually right inside my own place. But I would disagree with that now, though. But at the same time, because I had realised negative people, negative relationships, and that sort of thing, I was on the verge of just being content and saying, well, now that I know everything that's gone wrong in my life and why it's gone wrong, even with that, I was wrong, because I was right in sensing that most of the people, the humans that had been in my life, were of a negative vibration, and they were a particular type of personality type, a narcissistic kind of psychopathic type of personality type, which I didn't even know that existed before I looked into it. And that was only because I was so concerned and had and wondered why my own personality was being changed from a certain type of person into full of anger. And this was because I couldn't deal with the negative energy that was being dished out at me. And when I woke up to it or saw it and thought, well, now I've got to separate myself from it, now I'll just separate myself and I'll be aware of this, that not all humans give out positive energy, and not all humans are the same. Not, you see, some humans are like the God entity Archon. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, so I'm trying to keep track because, as I say, these thoughts, even our very thoughts, are manipulated by the technology and these entities. Now, I don't really like to go into that because it makes me sound far-fetched, and only some people are going to agree with it and get it. But even if you just want to take it at a personal level, that's why I say at a personal level, I was on the verge. I'm trying to keep track here because there's so many, on the verge of raising the vibration, just feeling, accepting the world, accepting people, but saying to myself now in the future, because I realised that, you see, most of my life I had dealt with particular types of human beings because they're attracted to the more passive types of people, because they're like the God entity that rules the world, in the sense that some humans feed off other human beings' negative energy. And so it's like psychopathic type of people, and there are a lot more of these around than what we realise now. I used to think, oh, there's probably a few psychopaths in the entire world. This is not true. And when I say psychopaths, I don't mean like necessarily people who do really bad things, but I mean that they're just people who essentially create negativity in a positive person. They see a positive person or a person who doesn't have negative energy, just even, because I didn't consider myself to be the most positive person, but I must have still had some, even just being neutral, in other words, to where you're not getting really angry against other people. You're not, I suppose, because, see, most of my life, I always thought, and I was wrong about this, but I actually thought from when I was quite young that all human people are very much the same. And this is not true, but I did think that because I thought to myself, okay, there might be a few, you hear about a few naughty things, really bad things, and you might see them on the TV and stuff, but you tend to think they're one in a billion type of thing. You don't think that you think most people, why would they be negative? Why would they deliberately create negativity? Why would they lie? Why would they do this? Why would they do these things when it seems unnecessary? Because you don't understand, and I didn't understand, that some human beings, because of the trauma of their childhood and the way they've been brought up, they essentially feed off negative energy, just as the God entity feeds off negativity of the human race as a whole. It's all starts at that source, but in the real world, it comes down to you and me playing with one another and creating negative energy and bad vibration, and that escalates. If you know what I'm saying, it's like that. And it's and when I first discovered this about other human beings, and realised that every human being that had been in my life was of a particular type of personality, because, as I say, if you're a bit the opposite of that, you attract that human being, because they're not silly. They might be quite intelligent, but instead of using their intelligence, this is what I say, it's not about intelligence. You could be super intelligent, you could be a genius, but if you've got a negative, if you've got if you're psychopathic type of personality, you will only then be using your genius and your high intelligence to create a negative, destructive. You'll be destructive with it. You won't be creative with it. And this is the problem. So, that's why I say it's very easy to be impressed even by intelligence and stuff, but you could have a person who had very little intelligence or lower intelligence, but if they've got a positive vibe, if they've got if they're not feeling angry, fearful, or anything like that, especially towards other human beings, they have more potential to save this world if it's needed as saving. And I think some of us would definitely say that it's in a position where it is under great threat. That sort of person has more potential to actually save this world than your greatest scientists, your greatest geniuses. They're no good, because a lot of these people are serving the dark God entity, you could say. Because, as sad as this might seem, I would go so far myself to say that if I was a God entity and I'm a negative force and I want to have control over positive beings, human beings, because they're naturally light beings, they're naturally spiritual, they're naturally meant to be the opposite to that, but they have been taken over to such an extent that they have now become, most have become very negative beings. Now, if I was a God entity, I would say to myself, I want to control the light human beings, the positive human beings. So how do I do that? What I'm trying to say is, this is what I think anyway. And if you look around you, I can't prove it, but I would actually go so far as to say, a little bit like the Jesus man, individual, whatever you like, because I'm very big on saying some of the things that he said. I'm not big on, his sacrifice on the cross and all that. No, I find that sad and unnecessary. But what he actually said, some of the things that he said, whether he existed or not, I'm quite happy to say those things, because I think that there is a lot of truth in them. And, but I don't want to go down the religious path too much, even though I could almost agree with religious people and say, okay, I wouldn't dispute Son of God in a way, but not the God, the Archon God that rules this world, and certainly not the religions that he represents. No, I would not go that far at all. I would separate him totally from this earth, which is what he said to do. Be not of this earth, of this world. Be in it, but do not partake of it, type of thing. But once again, I've got confused. So many thoughts come into my head when I'm doing these things. But even he said it would be he was literally saying it is almost impossible for a rich person to get into heaven or out of this hell, really, in a way, is what I think he was really saying, because this, to my view, is the real hell, because it is the dark earth. It is controlled. It shouldn't be, but it has gone that way, and it's gone that way and probably been that way for so very long, if the history that I've got is correct, and I think it is. But what I am saying is that most of the people, humans that are very wealthy on the planet, on the earth, and that are making a lot of money and have a lot of acknowledgement and a lot of so-called respect, which is strange. They do. Even I have respected the wrong people. I have liked the humans, particularly the artificial celebrity type humans. And I say artificial because most of what you even know about them comes by artificial means through technology. So it's not like I've personally met them. So basically, you're liking something that you haven't really had personal contact with, and yet we admire these humans and people, and we respect them and think that everything that they say is valid and truthful. But what I'm saying is, if I was the God entity that rules, I would want these people to be my disciples, and I would reward them very well, because they have the power of influence. They have the power of changing the way we even see the world. And this is what I think has happened, because I look round and I see a world now, and you do start to see it when the veil is being lifted. What you once thought was desirable and a good move, shall we say. In other words, more freedom in certain areas where you might say, oh, it's good. I didn't want to go into this area, but you might say, oh, it's good. I'm almost fearful to go into these areas in a way, because it causes it causes a kind of controversy, in the sense that I certainly wish that we were in a free world, to where you didn't have to say those sorts of things, because they wouldn't be happening. In other words, it's such a deceptive world that it's kind of like this, and you have to almost be controversial, and I don't want to be, because, like I said, I'm a person that never has wanted to get involved in the world and politics and things. But what I'm trying to say is that now I would have to say how I even looked at myself, even just as a person, right? Where, this business of where you sort of say, oh, well, look, I believe in equal rights, okay? People say, I believe in equal rights, equality for all. See, this world is this is how I see it now, and it's tragic in the sense that sounds like a good thing to say. Equality for all, equality for male and female, equality for different types of denomination, shall we say. I don't want to be too blunt, but you almost have to be, because otherwise people don't get it. But then you're playing the game again. Then I'm in the game, because I'm like, oh, I could unintentionally be taken by some people to be attacking certain groups or something like this, whereas I've got no thought that way whatsoever, and don't care about all the groups. But I'm saying that because this is a manipulation, because we are in a fake world, a video game, virtual reality world that we have very little choice in now. We still have free choice, but it's even that is like, if you are so manipulated by the environment, what free choice do we really have? Because it's a bit like, here again, that's the virtual reality world distracting me out there with noise. And believe you me, I'm sorry if I'm losing you, but believe you me, this virtual reality world is controlled so much more than what people realise. It is not just controlled in a big way, like you might say, oh, well, yes, we have powers that be that control different things. We have rules, we have regulations. This technology that rules the planet can manipulate things at a very detailed level. And then, because humans create reality with their thinking as well, if they can control your thinking and infiltrate your thinking and your mind and your emotions, which is the big thing. The emotions is a big thing. It's something that humans are very derogatory about and don't realise the power of their emotions. It is not a negative thing to be emotional. It is only negative because it is being manipulated by the God entity and by the environment. In reality, there's great power in it, and it is the opposite to technology, which is why the God entity likes the technology to manipulate and control the power of the human being, which their power comes because everything is frequency, vibration, and energy, and their thoughts create reality. If you can combine all that to manipulate the emotions of the humans, is great power. And that's what happens. It's complicated and it's bizarre and it's unbelievable, but that's because we don't understand the technology that is being used against us, neither do I. But I'm just now able to, because we are supposed to be lifting the veil a bit. We are supposed to be. As I say, the human beings that are just naturally content, the few that have managed to master that, they don't even have to lift the veil. They could remain almost in ignorance and even not be particularly clever or see anything, and it wouldn't matter because they will do more good to this world that's going negative or a negative than people who are intellectual, because it is good though to know these things, because that was the whole idea, was that we were supposed to be waking up, and if you see what's going on, if everyone saw what was going on, I would imagine that, like I see human beings that are quite willing to raise, a lot of energy and a lot of cause a lot of commotion over quite minute things that really are not going to change their future or their life at all, but they will do that. So these same humans, if they really were able to wake up, they do have the potential to change things too. Even the narcissistic type of human beings, if they could let go of that, the psychopathic, if they really could, but it's almost impossible from what I've been told, to do that. They could do a lot more good, because they are often people that are more go-getters, because even I'm not a real go-getter, like I've been very much one that just is passive, that's right. But all I'm saying is that, yeah, it does come down to that. That's what I discovered, because I couldn't figure out. To me, it's like, why are seemingly unimportant people being kept at a low vibration? That's how I would put it. And this is because everything is frequency, vibration, and energy, and just because you've been kept down the bottom in this world, that is a deliberate setup of the being, Archon being, that controls this world, and even the top human beings that operate for this, because they are aware that everything is frequency, vibration, and that if they want to keep their dark planet going, their dark earth going, to where they can operate in it and still keep everyone playing the video game, because once the vibration rises and the veil is lifted, shall we say, the negative Archon dark entities, shall we say, they then cannot pull the levers on the video game anymore. And human beings, strangely enough, actually, have really, we all have relinquished our very rights to this earth, and we have relinquished also our abilities. We've given over the potential for that 0.5% that we now operate in. We've given over that 90-odd% to this video game fake world and to the Archon controlling God entities, systems, and everything that is in this world that is fake, that is all part of it, because they're like, they have the upper hand. They can see everything that's going on. They know how everything works. They know everything is frequency vibration. They have the technology to manipulate that, and we have let them give us we've let them give us the technology that keeps us down and keeps us from raising the vibration and becoming aware of everything that's going on, and also, even though I'm talking a little bit beyond, in a way, what I've even experienced myself, but I am assuming that 90-odd%, 99 point whatever, because I'm no good at maths, whatever it is, but I'm saying almost to where we are left with nothing. We're really operating on nothing now. This has all been shut down and closed off to us. And if we were able, we have unconsciously been I don't even know how to describe it, but essentially we're defeating ourselves because the technology keeps us from accessing the information and even just the proof, to prove to ourselves that we have so much more abilities and that we are capable of taking back this world, in a way, taking it back, or at least taking it from the dark entities and making it more light, or at least balancing it even. But we can't do that because we're not accessing everything. We're at such a limited, closed down level. And the technology that we accept and are using puts that completely in place to where we can't access any psychic abilities, any abilities to be aware that we're capable of doing and creating a totally different reality, you could say. And this is and this is how it works, and this is because the entity God knows this and has put this in place, and he's put this in place at the present time more so because we have more technology now on the planet, on the earth. Keep doing that, I'm sorry. Doesn't matter, I suppose, but more technology in place now than what we have ever had, at least in our limited knowledge of our history. I personally have said before that civilizations have been and gone, the alternative history, so there have been civilizations in the past that were more probably technologically advanced than what we are now. But at the same time, they've been and gone too for the same reason, because technology destroys. Human beings create, technology destroys. The God entity is a duality God. I should have said this at the start, but I've said it before, but maybe if someone's listening that hasn't heard it, even low, the God entity likes to keep the frequency of the planet low and the vibration low, and he is negative, dark in his kind of thinking, and in it's a necessary thing. It's like it's like if you, it's like the negative humans that I was talking about, the narcissistic, psychopathic types. They feed off negative energy. They don't like to be around people that are too happy, okay? And if they see people that are too happy, they like to bring them down. And that's the same as the God entity, okay? But the God entity is still a duality God. And this is a bit hard to explain, in the sense that there is still always the choice, because because we are spiritual beings, evidently. It's kind of like we have to be given the choice, and therefore there is always going to be the dark light option. But even that, let's see, it's hard to explain, but even that is like this. It's like, originally, and I said this in the last video, I think I was talking about how originally, when we were first put here, before Archon intervention, shall we say, before the beings come from out there and interacted with the human beings were not aware of dark and light. They were not aware of good and evil. That's right. They were not aware of right and wrong. Now, some people might say that's a bad thing. We need to be aware of right and wrong. No, it's not actually. That's the deception, which is kind of strange. And even I find it strange. But you don't need to be aware of right and wrong, of good and bad. No, human beings were spiritual beings. So therefore, they are just all meant to be at their full potential. If everything is accessed, they do not have any negative, dark energy or low vibration. They would be at the highest frequency, highest vibration, and therefore no dark can touch them. They're not interested in that. There is no right or wrong, good or bad, dark or light. It's just all good. It's all light. It's all love, you could say, I suppose. Okay. I'm not quite sure I got that one, but but I'm sure it's right. Some people might even know more than me, I'm sure. And it does depend on how you're looking at things. I try to keep things basic. I'm a basic person. I'm not trying to be extra smart, because there again, I don't like that word, extra intellectual or whatever, but I just try to fathom things out, because I think that even in this crazy world, a little bit of common sense, if you're given information and you've had personal experience, you should have, what I say, just common sense. Just two and two makes four. You don't have to be particularly academic to do that. But a lot of people now are not doing that. They're not doing what they even used to do before technology, where they would just, this is what I've observed anyway, just the average person that used to just see things in a kind of basic logical way, and they would be right in doing that. Now it's like they will go to the internet or the technology to answer a simple question almost. And and this is not, I don't, I personally, okay, yeah, well, like I say, I'm a basic person, so I don't fully understand all the different levels of some people. I have seen videos in the past, people accessing a different. It's at a basic level. It is just about vibration stuff, and that's the best that I can do. I'm not gonna. I don't know what level a Jesus Christ got to. The highest, I would say. But and I'm not, and I don't know. Different humans might be at different levels of things. I don't even know what my own level is, but I feel that it's very low because I don't feel very happy and very content with things, because that's what I say, too much knowledge or too much information, if it's of a negative sort, even though you need that to face the reality of the situation we're in, it still does bring down the vibration. Unless you have already, like that Jesus man said, be in this world but not of this world, unless you've got to that point, or wherever that is, to where you can have negative knowledge and see a bad situation but still not let it affect you. That is something that I certainly haven't mastered, but that's what I see some videos where people seem to have mastered that. Even if you enjoy the learning of this and see it as an exciting time, I have to admit I don't, but it's better if you do. It's better if you can say, but anyway, I'll just finish off this way. Even though I was going, I've got sidetracked again, as you can see, because I was talking about the different types of people, and also the way that, like I've said before, that equality thing where we say, oh, we must have equality. I'm trying to keep on track. There's so many issues. Even that equality thing. I'll just throw this in and someone might get something out of it. Even that idea of equality, right? Like maybe most of my life, I might have seen myself as a particular type of person. I might not have seen myself as particularly female or particularly male, or just as a person, which I think is okay. And that's certainly how I at different times would have thought, and all that. But what I am trying to say is I now realise that even the equality thing, at any level you want to look at it, the male-female thing, I personally now think, and please, I don't want to offend anyone, because this is the point, is that this is all part of the deception, I think. We are just human beings, and we say that, and we say we're all love, and yet we will go out and carry on about a particular right or about a particular issue. Now, so look, it's so tricky, because sometimes it's okay to do that, but I really do think that this is just what I've observed now, and I have not always thought this way, so there again, it's a turnaround for me. As I've said before, I think I might have said it in a video, I don't know. Whatever I think about myself now does not count. In other words, if I saw myself as a male, a female, a neutral gender, anything, all the different so-called denominations, because we seem, and I say denominations, by that I mean different types of, I don't even like talking about all this stuff, different types of genders, that type of thing, all this sort of stuff, whether you're gay, straight, all these sorts of things, they are all a separation. The male-female thing, there should be no separation. There shouldn't be a there shouldn't be there should never have been a women's liberation. There should never have been a feminist type of thing. There should never be this business of separating or confusing sexes and genders. To me, that is all part of the game, okay? It's not about equality at all. It's about separation. It's not about equal rights. It's not about man, woman at all. It is all about just separating human beings, stopping them from raising their vibration, stopping them from combining, sending their good vibration one to the other to where this earth is changed, to where it is not a low vibration place, to where it is not ruled by negative entities. It is all it's all part of the fake world. We did not invent anything. We did not all of a sudden decide, oh, I don't think that we all of a sudden decided, or as I as a female decided, like I thought maybe I did years ago, oh, men have so many more so-called rights than me, therefore I must get my equality, I must get more this, I must prove that I'm as good as a man, men think they're better than me, this sort of stuff. All false. All a trick, all a deception, all to get us to fight one another, to separate. That is hard to accept, but that's how I see it now. It's because the God entity doesn't want humans, people, they want a different world. They want a technical, artificial world. They don't want humans in contact with nature, with other living things. They don't want them being connected to the men. They don't want women connected to men. They don't want men connected to women. They want a separation of the sexes, because this is what's happening. Now, that's very hard to say to someone who maybe is working in a job and says, oh, well, maybe he gets more money, this is not right, or maybe I wanna play football and get my brains knocked out like the clever man, because I've been conditioned to believe that that's, you know, the thing to do. I want to prove that I'm as strong as a man. I want to prove this. It's all a mass, in my opinion, and what I see around me, and what I see happening even in the different activities, in the sports, in the celebrities, in reality. It's very hard to tell people that, oh, because it's hard to tell people this, because then we're still living at a practical level to where people want money and want to do this and that. But if it comes right down to it, it's going to have to come down to this, to where one day, as I'm now doing, which is hard, to say, look, none of this matters. It's all just part of the game. It's all completely fake, and it's all just designed with a purpose of separating the sexes, creating a more artificial type of human being that has no access to the natural world, no access to their full abilities, and is controlled much more by an artificial technical world, to where we and so it's very hard then, because we're still living in this fake physical world, to say to someone, look, you need to actually probably, and this is where you really do have to be spiritual, I guess, and I certainly haven't been, and high vibration, because, see, at the high spiritual level, you are not as concerned with the physical aspects of life. That's really what it comes down to. This is what I now I'm realizing, okay? So therefore, you're not going to be bothered so much by or jealous or envious, as we all have been, by other people that have more money, that have more comforts, that have more respect, more acknowledgement. This is hard. And you are just going to think in terms of kind of spiritually changing this world to where things will change. Because the funny thing is, if you can change and raise the vibration, the actual physical world would become better too. This is it. But that's why it's a catch-22, and even I'm finding it very hard in my head to actually explain it or to even get my own head around it, because it is such a mass deception. But I was saying that very much we are seeing humans, men and women particularly, people. I hope I don't sound ridiculous when I keep saying humans, but I could go into that a bit more too, because that's something also, as I've said before, not all humans are the same. Not all humans are at the same way of looking at things, at a spiritual kind of, even spiritual is a word, but it's like at a, it's a bit like the God entity that rules. He is not spiritual. He's not interested really in, he knows that humans originally were spiritual beings. He knows that. He understands the human more than humans know and understand themselves, because we don't understand ourselves because it's been kept from us. That God entity knows more about me than what I know about me. He knows how to pull my strings, and he does on a daily basis. But at least being aware, you can now, at this very late stage, it still happens to me, and he still catches me quite a bit, as the environment does, because the environment is controlled by him, and I cannot control the environment. I should be able to. That's the joke of it. Humans combined should be able to control the natural environment. This is what I think. Because their thought creates reality, and they're connected to the natural world. They are not connected to the technology, but they are now connected by the technology. This is the problem. This is the contradiction and the mass, the dilemma that we've got ourselves into, which I only realise this myself because I've liked watching TV for a lifetime and all this stuff too. And I've thought, hey, but I can still enjoy nature as well. Actually, nature was kept from me for most of my life. I was aware all my life that I needed to be in contact with nature, and that I needed to be in the sunshine, and that I needed to be in the water. From 12 years of age right through to the age that I am now, I have been in the water probably less times than what you could count on my hands, and yet I know, I mean in the water, I mean like in the ocean, that type of thing. And it has been kept from me for all those years, because just that very activity had the potential to raise my vibration. I realise that now because it's been kept from me. And right at this very, very present time, if I went down to the water, if I could, well, I'm so far from it anyway, but if I could do that, this is just an example, okay, if you can get something from this. I know, I shouldn't say I know because I'm already putting negative onto it, I know, but I do know what goes on around me. And I know that there will be a set-up scenario waiting for me when I try it. And so it will, what had the potential, if I had just been able to naturally go into that water, will probably be a set-up scenario waiting for me that will be that I will not be able to raise the vibration much. I used an example before. In other words, if you go into, or even if there were people around you, which the set up human beings that are part of this reality too, because some operate much more for the matrix. Let's be honest. I'm going to use that word because someone left the thing, and I've used that word before anyway. In other words, there are many human beings in this so-called real reality that operate totally for the matrix, you could say. So they are like you and me are not actors, but there are many human beings who are actors for the matrix, you could say. In other words, they are human beings that are programmed, whether it be programmed by the technology, whether it be programmed just by the fact that they might be given money. There's lots of ways that you can control human beings. Now, I'm going to have to close the video soon because, one, I'm exhausted, but also I don't want to go into the different types of human beings too much because haven't fully understood it yet myself. I know that I do know some things, right, but I don't want to go into it till I've got a bit more understanding of it, because I understand it in my head, but I would like to get more information, more facts, to where I'm not just talking like I normally do, a lot more vague. And I do keep it a bit vague and a bit basic because, one, that is, I don't have 100% clear picture of everything at this point myself. And I'm fearful to get more too, I might add. In fact, I'll say this just before I finish. It was a funny thing. Someone said to me only a few days ago, they were talking about the so-called third eye, right? You know, that's like the even though I'm not there again, this is new to me, but I was aware of it not when all this started happening, when I started to become aware. That's like the third eye, the pineal gland, I think it's called, that has become, what they say, calcified in most people due to the environment, due to even the water and all the different things they say that can make it calcified to where that is like a second sight. That's what some people believe. I'm going to go along with that, okay, because I've already said that we are totally deactivated. Everything is closed down. So there's no reason to not believe that these things are also part of that and that they have significance. But I'll tell you this. I became aware of that third eye thing when I started to see things, because the environment started coming down on me and I started to wonder what was going on. Like, what is going on in my world, my environment even. I didn't even look to the big world at that point. I was just like, my little world. What is going on around me? Okay? And I was told that, or information came to me that my third eye was probably opening up to where I was seeing a bit more. I would say that, combined with the environment coming down. But at this early stage, and this shows you how we are as human beings now, and how even I was like, hey, I can see what's happening. I'm seeing how negative everything is. And it was too much for me. And I was like, I want to find a video or something that tells me how to close down my third eye. I want it calcified. I do not want to see any more of this. I want to go back to burying my head in the sand. I don't want to see this stuff. That maybe if I can just close that third eye, maybe the environment around me will change and go back to the neutral way it used to be, to where I didn't see and realise what was going on around me. And that and I actually did look for videos to actually, what I thought if this really is a physical thing as well as a vibrational thing, because I didn't actually know about the vibration even much at that point. Okay, I'm like, I just want to close it down. Just please let me go back to, in other words, just let me go back to not knowing anything. Just let me live the very simplest life. Let me not. I don't even want to raise my vibration by. I don't want to even be on top of the world, but I cannot stand the fear that was in me when I saw the environment going on around me. And yeah, so I was actually like that. And even now, it would be tempting, but you can't actually do that once you start to wake up. And this sounds very negative, but I'm saying it from my own point of view, and so I understand why most people do not want to actually wake up or see anything. It's too fearful for us. It's like, let me even go down with the matrix, as long as I don't know I'm going down with the matrix. You know, like in the movie The Matrix, as I said, that I saw not long ago. Just let them take me down even, but just don't let me be aware of it. Let me have a limited life even, but don't show me all this horrible stuff that I'm seeing now. Don't show me the truth even. And this was, yeah, even from my own point of view, but I could not close that third eye down. I couldn't. In fact, the opposite happened. And then at some point, I was like, mainly because of seeing a few people like myself, even on a video, to where I'm like, hey, I'm not alone, because I thought, hey, I must be alone. Like the world and everyone is so almost gone bad. And then you see some people that are explaining some things that are going on, and they are being more aware, and they're telling you that no, you should not give up at least. You know, because there's almost that option of, oh, you want to opt out even. I don't have a negative suicidal bone in my body. I've said that all my life because my life has not been real high, but I have always said, hey, there's always something good in it. But when you get to the point now, that's right, where you say, well, even if I turn on the TV, because I used to think, oh, well, I can turn on the TV and watch a comedy on the TV. It's not real life. Even then I knew it's not real life, but it's a diversion. And it is a diversion too. It is part of the matrix. All these things are diversions to keep humans from waking up and getting it from themselves, as opposed to getting it from outside sources, from the technology, from that sort of thing. If I'm explaining that well, I don't know if I am. But yeah, even to do that. But now when I turn the TV on and I watch what I would have thought was a favourite TV show, and I see, how should I say, sinister qualities even to that. In other words, you see that even that TV show is part of the matrix, that it is a influence, a tool of the God entity to change your way of looking at things. Like I've said before, to change your way of seeing other human beings. The example I used before, man and woman, if you watch your TV shows, they will show you the more liberated type of female, the more strong. That word, there again, I find words very hard, but women are very much now encouraged to be strong, to be more male-like in a way, to be competitive with the male in a way. I hope I'm getting this right, because it's not something I want to be talking about, and this is encouraged on the programs and different things. And they are, as that word says, and as others have said, program. It is to program you, to make you think that way too. And you do, and we all do, and we have. But okay, so what's the alternative? Then people say, oh, so me, you silly person, me, do you want to take us back to, yeah, the dark ages, or back to before when women didn't vote, or this or that, all this sort of stuff, okay? See, this is the catch-22 of it, the deception of it, and the trick of it is that you appear to not be able to win in this incidence or in this thing, because it's like, how do you tell someone that? Because you can't say, well, yeah, I am saying that, but then at the same time I say, well, no, I'm not really, I don't really want to say that either, but it is like that. And so what I am trying to say there again, and I'm not putting it across very well, you really have to get beyond all of that. You really have to let go of all of that. I think that is the only way that you can actually change this world, is to let go of all of that. And how people are going to do that, I don't know, because even I would have found that hard. Not so much now, but then again, you know, I always thought that it was just me. So I never was one that was ever like, oh, I'm going to impose my, how should I say, my own way of thinking about the sexes even onto someone else. I was always like, everyone's just unique in themselves and that's it. But even that is used against too now, because we have all these different denominations. But they're not different denominations, they're just confusing everyone. It's just a massive confusion mind trick game to make humans unaware that they're spiritual beings. They're all connected, their thought creates reality and all this stuff, which is the real reality of what it's basically to be, and get them into the game of all this gender stuff and all this male, female. It's all just a game. The God entity and the people who, even the people or humans that are operating for these, it's all part of their big just getting humans to play in this game, to say, let's just see little old me be silly enough to be worried about whether a man's stronger than her, or whether a man's got a different job, or whether she's got this or he's got that. And let's see that, let's see silly me want to go and play a game of football, you know. Let's see her knock herself about like the silly man doing it, you know. I don't mean to criticise football or that, because really, please don't take it that way, because I like all of these things myself. I'm just saying that it's a deception to get the sexes, the male and female, to separate the male from the female. Because in my way of looking at it now, I would say this, that men and women are different. They're physically different, or they should be, provided they're not intermingling or any other funny business, okay? And I'm not going to go there. I don't want to go there, even though I think the world has already gone there. If you're following me, you're probably not, and I don't want to go there because it's distressing for me, and it's too complicated. Even I don't fully understand it. But if you're talking, see, the God entity, right? You're talking about master genetics. You're talking about master technology, what we are not aware of. You're talking about even humans at the human knowledgeable level, as I said before. We know we can clone, we know we can create life. So we can, even human scientists can do much more than what they either do or tell us they do, or whatever, you know, depending on what's going on. I've lost my track, but the whole thing is, I see it now when I see the changes that have taken place over the last, particularly the last, I'd say the last 25 years. I'm not very good at times, but the internet is basically, I'm going to say the internet is a vast technology that disrupts the human frequency, okay? And humans were meant to be waking up. spiritually, and even at just a normal, even just an awareness of what is going on in their environment locally and at a world level. But the controlling force of this planet, Earth, knows this and has known this before it happened. So the internet, the technology is brought in even stronger at this period of time, over the last 20 years, whatever. Because don't forget, even time, like to me, that seems like a reasonable amount of time, and I'm talking about 100. But I think I've said this before, this is the information I had. The God entity, if you're dealing with beings, entities that live for much longer periods of time than what we do. We have had our lifespan cut down to nothing of what we're conscious of. We were meant to live for much longer, even at a conscious level on this planet, I believe, originally. And even if you go back lesser periods of time, but it's gradually been brought down to much, much more limited. But without getting confused and complicated, again, as I've said, when there was intervention, when the technological beings came and interacted with the vast majority of humans, whatever species they were, because there were different species even of humans. I'm going to look into that, and I already have my own ideas, but I don't want to put them out there in case they are not 100% correct. And also it gets too complicated. It's too complicated for me, but there are big differences even between the humans that are on this earth and the entities that control it know all this. They have all the knowledge. They know how everything works. They know how humans operate. They know the different types of humans. They understand the technology. They have vast technology. Technology is used to separate the humans, to separate them from becoming naturally whole, should we say, at a very basic level. And I've said this before, humans are meant to be, this is my belief, in contact with nature, with living things. Technology is dead. Technology is the means to separate the humans from becoming whole as an advanced, high vibrational, spiritual human being. This is just putting it very bluntly and basically, even though I don't fully understand it and I'm not there. So I'm, you probably think I'm talking through my hat, but and in some ways I am. But just because I'm not experiencing doesn't mean that I don't know that it can exist and that it does exist, and that other human beings have not done this. It's just that and but I'm aware of it because I've been able to piece together what has happened to me, and with the knowledge, with the information, and so it forms a complete picture to me now. And also because there is that awareness, that veil is being lifted. And this was supposed to be happening with most human beings at this time. And this is why the technology is here. All these things are here to keep the planet or the earth as it has been for a long time, so that humans remain unaware, low frequency, low vibration, limited, and not able to change the vibration of the whole domain. Because in a funny kind of way, like I was told by someone else, if you can, it's a domino effect, if you can get a certain number of humans to think a certain way, in other words, if you open the eyes of a few humans and they then tell other humans the reality and they believe it, it becomes where you only need a small amount to then make the whole lot go. And that's an effect of whether you want to say that people follow the leader, okay, and there's truth to that, or whether you say it is a mind transference thing, or to where just the whole, well, you see it, look, we all know that if you only have to look at the world to realise that we all do that. We all follow the majority, we all follow the basic consensus, we all go along with, if something is brought in, we accept it just like everyone else does. And this is essentially how it works in a funny kind of basic way. So it is very essential, and this is why the technology was brought in relatively recently. As I said before, the beings live for astronomical amounts of time. They have full knowledge of, they're not like a human being where I'm here only for, 50, 60 years or something, 70 or whatever. And that is the limit of my experience and my knowledge for that time. And even if you go into the idea of the reincarnation where you come back, when you come back, you're starting again. So so our lifespans and our whole existence, much less the fact that we're completely closed down, we are at such a disadvantage, and we are so limited by this. And this is the opposite to what I now think is what originally was meant to be. I did the last video on the information of that we originally were here as a living library. And I was going to continue that, but to tell you the truth, the technology shut me down because it just ran out. I don't know what really happened. A lot of strange things happened, and there again, I accept that because I'm in the technologically controlled domain of the Archon God entity that has dominion over this world, and even the whole setup video game system that is this world. Even if you didn't want to take, if anyone's listening and they don't want to take it to a high level, or what I'd say a fantastic level of saying, oh yes, where this world is really not what we think, it's not really solid, it's really a holographic video game virtual reality world created by an Archon technologically advanced godlike entity. Even if you just want to say it's just a human world and we rule it and we control it and we have free will in it, but we've made a big mess of it and everything's in chaos because we do this, that wrong, because we invent things just accidentally and they just happen to be technological things that then cause more destruction to the environment or to nature or to animals and to ourselves. If you want to just say that, and we have certain scientists and geniuses that invent the computer and invent the car and the air, all these, and you want to say that, you can. You can do that if you want to. But there again, I've lost my train of thought. But even at that level, even if you just want to keep it at that human level, even at that level, I would still say that I would still, if we were waking up, even if you were just waking up at a human level, and we're not being deliberately kind of suppressed by the technology or this sort of thing. We've just made a few mistakes, shall we say, because that's how a lot of humans really think about it. They just think, oh well, even if technology's no good, we're just so clever that we invented that, and it was just a bit of a mistake because now it's causing us more problems, even though some people would not acknowledge that too. And oh no, we're actually quite advanced. We've made progress. That's right. Women now have rights. We're all equal. We're all the same. And the thing is that we are all equal and all the same. And I've rambling and lost my train of thought again, sorry. We are all the same. We are all equal. But the kind of what I would call the illusion, the deception, you could say, or we're deceiving ourselves because it's like it's not logical. you know, and I don't like to use that word either there again, because to me, logic and intellect and all that is alien and the opposite to being spiritual. When you're spiritual, you just know you should just know everything. You don't have to impress with saying, "Oh, I'm intelligent" or this or that. It's not important. It's it's just part of the trick of this world to separate people even by intelligence. It's all human beings should just know. If you want to say that's intelligence, that's basically it. Spiritual human beings know they don't have to. They don't have to have any of these sorts of things. It's not. They're just automatically intelligent. But it's just a word. It's just if you know everything, you can't even put a scale on the intelligence because there is no scale. You just know it all. Oh, you're a know-it-all. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. But you know, I'm there again. That's I put my foot in it there, didn't I? Because yeah, most people are these days. They're very. They think they're. We think we're very clever. We think we're very know-it-all, and all that is just to put us into that ego state to where once again we're feeling that we're okay, but we're really in the dark. So, you know, because that's all the knowledge and all the information is just part of the game. It's just to keep us trapped in this world and to um, confuse us more, really, because it's not proper knowledge. It's all false. It's most of it's not even remotely true, I don't think. You know, our whole perception of the world and our reality is just all false. But we should know if we were at a high level, as we should be, we would just know this, and we would laugh at how we are now, and we would also laugh even at the things that are in place to restrict us and we'd pull it down. We would get rid of all the stuff that is restraining us because we would know that it would be a bit like, um, you know, we would just know that we were in a toxic environment and we would know how to, who was doing it, how it was operating, and we would find a way to get rid of it because we would be aware of it and we would be all combined, so we would change it. I'm not 100% sure if just alone. Well, I mean, I suppose there again, if it's true that everything is frequency, vibration, and energy, and if everyone raised their vibration, we actually wouldn't have to use probably even much physical means to get rid of the toxic environment, shall we say, or to even rid ourselves of the forces around us that are manipulating, limiting us and keeping us to where we don't know that we are limited and in this video game control kind of set up fake world. I've gone and rambled on for so long. I have to admit that I don't get much pleasure in life these days, but even just to state some of the things that have happened to myself, and there's so many things that I could mention. Like I mentioned, the swimming, not being able. Now you'd say, well, why can't you go in the water if you think it can raise the vibration? I already said, yes, I can probably do that if I put a big effort in, but I cannot avoid the setup that will be waiting. You know, I can't change that. That can only be changed by my raising the vibration. You see what I'm saying? But if I'm going into the setup situation where my vibration will probably not be able to rise, it becomes that cycle to where, now I'm not saying we shouldn't all try. You know, it is not good to get negative, even like I'm saying myself, to even presume that setup. But To me, it's like beyond, to me, it's not realistic for me to actually sit here and say to you, look, I can just walk down to the beach. Well, there isn't one to walk down to anyway, but I can just go to the beach, and immerse myself in water and raise the vibration. To me, that's illogical, because I know that everything is a setup, and I know that from the minute I walk out the door, I'm in the virtual reality setup, fake, artificial world that is controlled by technology, controlled by humans that are technologically controlled, shall we say, one way or the other, or even if they're just spiritually controlled. Like if someone negative wants me to do something negative to someone else, and I'm already a negative person because I'm in the low vibration and I like money and I only care about myself, it wouldn't be very hard for someone to offer someone money to do something negative to someone else. That's at a very basic level, okay? But if the person is a little bit more thinking, a little bit more caring, a little bit more this, I might have to trick them mentally to do something negative to someone else. I might have to say that person is naughty in this way, so if you do this negative, you're really doing a good thing. Or I might be able to implant a negative thought into their head. That is another means, but that gets a bit more tricky, and I don't fully understand it. But I'm going to finish up by saying, and this is once again rambled and gone all over the place, and for that I'm sorry. But if you're dealing with, I don't know whether you can hear that mad noise, but that's just an example of someone who is very mind controlled, I would say, because, and this happens all the time where I am, where people are using just physical things, whether it be a motorbike, a car, a truck, mechanical devices, anything, to create incredible noise, incredible offensive noise to a spiritual being, to be bombarded with noise all the time, as I am around here, is negative frequency. It's low frequency. That is frequency, vibration, energy. If someone has a jackhammer going off outside your door, do you think you can raise your vibration? No. It's common sense that you don't have to even understand the frequency vibration for that, do you? No. That's just common sense, that you will be in a state of anxiety, you will be annoyed, you will be frustrated, you will get angry, you will be, I can't stand it, I'm going crazy with that noise. That's the idea. Human beings are being made crazy in this crazy matrix set up world, even by the noise that's around them, the visual things that are around them, particularly if you're in the city. That's why I say humans are meant to not be in cities. They're not meant to have all this technology around them. We get used to it. As you raise your vibration, I think you will realise that you will find this upsetting, because you will realise that you've got used to something that is negative and that is no good for you, and that you shouldn't be getting used to. But essentially, if you're in the city, you can't avoid it, but yeah, you're being conditioned to accept a negative frequency environment. And then you get into that and you get used to it, you accept it, which, and you stay down, basically. And you'll get more and more. In the end, we'll just become so mind numb by it almost. I don't know whether that's the right word, but to where you become unaware of it. Because I know that with so many, I notice it, and it drives me, it really does. It really pushes me. And I'm aware that its frequency is going from me because I can hear it vibrating almost. Because if you've got bad noise, it does vibrate. It vibrates in your ear. And this is the thing, but we get used to it. We go out into the traffic and we hear all this and we just become conditioned to it. We're almost turning off. But see, we're turning off, so we're then not open to the world, whereas we should be open, I think. I think how this is how it works. We should be open to nature and to the to be in contact with the earth, but instead we are only in contact with negative frequencies, noises. The plane going over, you can hear it now. They go right over the top of here now, over my place, right over, literally. They used to be further over. And for years I didn't take notice of it much. Of course, it's more worse now, that's right, but it totally disrupts you. Even if you don't actually mind the noise, which it is quite loud, but like I say, if you've lived with it for a while. But while that happens, you are diverted. You certainly couldn't be meditating or in contact with nature or anything, or in contact with anything, because that noise alone will just totally take you into that noise realm then, if you're following me. So what I'm saying is that funny thing is, speaking of that, and this is just what other people would call coincidence, but I don't believe there are any coincidence. I say it's a setup, total virtual reality fake video game world. It is. The beings that control it, their timelines, because they are advanced and technically advanced, and humans should know all these things too. So when I'm giving them a big rapture, we say, and I'm saying they're God entity and all this stuff, I am saying this, and it's true. That's only in comparison to us because we're right down here. But I'm saying that the so-called enlightened human being, the high vibrational human being, I'm trying to use words there again because I can't find any other way. I'm saying a human being at its full potential would know all these things too, and much more. But, even while I'm talking about the Archon God, many people are going to say, well, everything you're saying is only telling us that we should worship Satan. We should really go with all that because he is the controlling God. And I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying there's a choice. I'm not saying that. But certainly I could see how people could say, hey, she's really reinforcing that we're worshipping the right thing. And if this entity controls and has done this, that, and everything. But I'm saying there's a choice, but I'm also really saying that that's only because of the way it is now, because we are in a low vibration. I'm saying we've never really tried being at a high vibration, all of us, to see what the real reality is and what we're really supposed to do and what we can do. This is just a potential because we've never been there. But I'm saying that this is I think that, and in light of the information and what happens to us, the fact that, because if we were just really already limited beings like we are, this is what occurred to me when it happened to me. I'm like, well, hey, I'm a nothing and a nobody, really. I have no potential to do anything. I have no input even into my local area, much less the world. So why has it always been necessary to keep me down? This was the question I was asking myself. And I suppose I could have said, oh, there could be something random. Originally, I had to look into all of this. I was like, oh, well, maybe someone's had a grudge in the past, this or that. Why am I in a position? Why? I've looked over every single aspect of my life, past, present, and then looking to, why they don't want me to stay here for a long period of time, why things happened at a particular point, why was I also seduced into the internet, why has everything happened a certain way in my life. And at some point I said, hey, this is beyond coincidence. Whereas most of my life I thought it's just all random, everything coincidence. And you start to, and then when you know the truth, because it is the truth, you actually, and I'm not, this is not speculation for me, okay? All the past history back down through, like alternative histories and stuff like that, and all, even the spiritual stuff I could talk about. What I'm saying, that we are spiritual beings, and why you can take that to be speculation if you like, because it can't be proved, okay? But other stuff that I'm talking about, like in my actual life that's happened, they are actually just real things that have happened. They're real events, just if you want to take it that we're just limited human beings on a random earth that floats through the sky, where certain humans have more control than over others, like I've said. But the events that have happened in my life, and even what I'm talking about now, what happens, and the future and stuff, that is just purely at a physical level, nothing to do with being even a spiritual being. And even at that level, I can see that it is still a video game and that nothing has happened. It's too many coincidences, too many what they call synchronicities, that word that I only discovered not very long ago. Like, remember how I mentioned the plane going over? The plane's going over astronomical drive every 30 seconds, noisy, right over the place. Strangely enough, they've stopped at the moment. Has my thought stopped them? I'm not being silly, really, because I have seen things where there is a little bit of substance to it, but I'm not going to go there. It, like I say, people have to prove things to themselves, but we're up against it because, as someone said on a video a while back, even if some individual humans were particularly powerful, shall we say, I don't like to use that word, and had some abilities, because he was talking about how he knew some women that their emotions could affect the reality quite strongly. This is my belief anyway now, and I've got this from things, but even he said that, hey, if the powers that be, if the controlling matrix, the entity God that controls everything, wants to eliminate you, you will be eliminated. So as powerful as the human beings have the potential to be, and some actually are, even in this realm, but they might not be aware of it, they can still only exercise that power to some extent, because we have got ourselves into a position where we're in a technologically controlled world, and as we are in this physical body while we're here, and even if you have access to a lot more of the physical, shall we say, you've still got the environment that you have a lot less control over now, because humans, mainly from what my information has got, and even my own experience, humans create reality and have particular, from what I can gather, particular influence, and are able to change reality mainly through the natural means, mainly through nature and life. Not as much. We have no control over technology, is what I'm saying, but we have covered our planet in technology. Our ability and our once again, I have to use the word power, and I don't like to. Our power only is through the natural world, really. But we have given over our natural world to technology, and we have no power over technology. The technological God entity that controls and has dominion over this earth, controls the technology. That's putting it at a very basic, blunt level. So, yeah. So that is, and also that entity, God, controlling force, has a lot of control over a lot of humans. They are not operating at a spiritual level. They are not in possession of their highest high vibrational physical level. And dare I say that some who are rewarded and tempted by the physical world, which is very tempting, can be seduced by various means to work and operate for this system, technological earth system, because they may still have more, how should I say, because I can't prove this, but they might be given access to more spiritual-like abilities, but those abilities would be controlled and working more for Satan, shall we say, if I'm putting it that way, right? I'm not sure I'm putting it right, and I'm not sure I've got the full grasp of it myself. But in other words, they would be given some abilities that spiritual human beings should have if they raise their vibration. But they might be given some of these as a kind of an offering, shall we say, or there's a trade-off. So they won't be probably given. They probably wouldn't be allowed to rise to the highest vibration, because maybe if they did that, then they might walk away from their satanic kind of God that they're kind of worshipping anyway. I'm not sure about that. But because, see, the thing is, I think it comes down to this, is that once again, like I'll just finish up here because I know I've took too long, but they're special individuals. They're creative individuals. You know, a bit like if someone could sing really well, they will then be seduced by the god or by Satan to work for them, but they will be allowed to sing, and they will be offered special gifts or special extra comforts and all the goodies of the world. In exchange, it'll be a trade-off. And that human that likes to sing has very much bought into this physical world too, because I think once you separate, but it would be a hard choice, because while you're here, and if you've got certain abilities and someone says, hey, I'll reward you for your ability, which you love to do, it's a hard choice. It would be a very hard choice. This is just an example. If you, say, had a great voice and you wanted to sing and you wanted to entertain people and you get rewarded for that, you get the adulation, you get the money, it would be very hard for that person if they were offered it, and especially if they weren't even fully aware that they were being offered it by Satan or by a negative force, shall we say. Although I am now under the kind of idea that perhaps most of them are a little bit aware, because you will have to, there will be a trade-off, and you will have to deal with that entity a bit, or you will have, this is my belief now, or my knowledge that I'm getting, but it could still be possible that if you had a real super ability and you had the ability to work the masses, shall we say, almost with your ability, that they might let you perhaps be in a little bit of a state of ignorance or oblivion to where you actually think that you're just getting paid for it and that you were. I'm not sure about that, but I have been led to believe that most, even the industries, everything is very much a closed system now, that we've gone so far into this world now, this satanic almost world, that even a lot of people that have abilities are not really ignorantly working, shall we say, for the dark force, God entity almost. I'm not 100% sure, because I would imagine that he knows so much and works it so well, works this video game and humans so well, that, he may, because just in light of the fact that I was totally in the dark for most of my life, you wouldn't know if you were, you could theoretically keep some humans just totally in the dark, but still use their talents for your ends, while they think they're just doing it for their own, their own natural talent being used. I'm not sure about that. That could cover any field too. You could be a scientist, you could be an entertainer, you could be, you could be doing all sorts of things that actually have a fairly influential effect and determine where human beings go. Um, anyway, I think I've rambled and confused you all enough, and confused myself even a bit on that one, but I sort of know what I'm thinking, but it's hard to get it across sometimes, because I am assuming at this point that it would be very hard, and I think this is why some of us are not, like for instance, if I had a talent to be a singer, right? I'm only guessing this, supposing I could, I don't, but if I had a talent to be a singer, and the dark forces wanted to use my talent to seduce the masses with my singing, and have an influence, one way or the other, or obviously it would probably have to be low vibrational negative, or to put their ideas and their thoughts onto how human beings should be onto the masses. That would be the purpose of it, because this is never about humans just doing what comes naturally on this planet. It is not like that. That does not exist now. We gave that away at the beginning when we interacted with them. There's no freedom that way. You can't just say, I'm born and I'm talented and I'm gonna do this and that, and it's just gonna happen to me. I'll do it myself. No. Nothing just happens. You will only get what they want you to have. So what I'm saying is that if I was a singer and I had a great voice or something, and they wanted to use me to seduce the masses, shall we say, one way or another, it would be like this. It would kind of be, they would have to gauge, and they would know my thinking, as they do, because they infiltrate our thoughts one way or the other. It's quite likely that they have even individual entities that totally follow every single human being, like close right now. But I'm not going to go there. This is too vast, but it is something that occurred to me. They almost don't need to now, because we're so controlled by the technology. But I do believe that they, at this present time, because humans are meant to be waking up at this time, are meant to be seeing all of this that I'm saying, becoming aware of it, just becoming aware, and putting two and two together, which, two and two makes four, and you don't have to be real, you don't have to be super duper to know that. That's what I'm saying. It should be becoming obvious, and it would have been, but they're massively hitting us with the technology, with the mind control, with every single thing. I could mention so many things, but my own mind is also under attack. So, but and this was meant to be where this period of time, and the entities know this. They've known it for a long time. That's why they already set all their plans in place. They set things up from 100 years ago, even because their timelines are different to ours. You might say, "Oh, are they willing to stand around for 1,000 years for something to happen?" Yes, yes, because their timelines are not like ours. They're not like us, and our timelines have been limited deliberately so that we don't know anything. So 100 years to them is the same as 100 years of our time to them is like it could be, it could be a few months. I'm not sure what the timelines are, but I know that their timelines are totally different to ours because they live for so much longer. They can see all these things. And where they come from. I've seen, I've had the information, but I can't explain it all. But I'm saying that 6 months for me could be 100, 200 years for them. So, of course, they're willing to wait. And for them to set up something over a period of 10, 20, 30 years, like the technology and stuff, is nothing. That's just like 6 months, and then we've got lockdown. Okay, 6 months. Think about that. Even at a human level, if you were like the police or the powers that be or the governments or and you wanted to lock down your whole country because it would be easier for you if you have full control, you don't want any problems, keep the masses all subdued and all under control, you can direct them everywhere, which is really what happens anyway, but we're just unaware of it. And you thought you could do it in 6 months, of course you'd do it. And that's like it is for them because they're like, no, 6 months and we've got lockdown, we've got control of the whole planet, we've got control of whole vast areas. But that's why it makes it hard for if someone says to me 100 or 200 years, I'm like, oh, they wouldn't really do that because they'll all be dead. Even the real humans, they'd be dead. But no, it's not like that because that's why I say there's something more to it. It's not just about the humans that run the planet, but even they're generational too. And don't forget, and this was something that I learned to my great surprise not that long ago, even the humans that are at the top, they have much more vast technology than what we have because they've got the money and they have access to all the science and everything. And so they can do things they can extend their life longer too, you know. Human beings are spiritual beings, so they really are eternal. But we are limited because I say to myself, I've only got a few years to go or something, because that's all I can see, because I'm in this limited human body that has been totally taken over, suppressed, and limited. Whereas even the humans at the top, they have the same body. They would obviously have better medical stuff too, and more knowledge and more information. There again, there's a trade-off. They would trade off with Satan, shall we say, and they might give them information about how to extend their life. They might give them particular medicines that can cure different things, all this sort of stuff. But also, they could be promised, a, how should I say, another body. By that I mean, like, but they will also know that they can reincarnate, whereas that is something also that we don't know. much less to think that we're eternal spiritual beings. And it's confusing even for me and mind-blowing for me, so that's why I probably don't sound very convincing, because it does get even beyond me. But these are all potentials, because you are dealing with advanced technology, you're dealing with beings, and even humans, if they are at a much more advanced technological level behind the scenes, they can do many things that we would consider impossible with their body even. And so they also are not as worried about time as what we are. We are very much obsessed with death and time while we are in our body, the vast majority. And that is deliberate to make us fearful and to make us be limited. Because even your very rich, more powerful human beings would have much more access to the knowledge, to information, and to the technology, and to even just medical kind of physical stuff. And they might also be aware of the potential for reincarnating. So so common sense tells you then, doesn't it, that they're not going to be worried about time so much. So yes, they also will operate like the God entity, where they say, oh yeah, we don't mind setting up scenarios for 40 years, 50 years, even though we might be dead when they finally come in, because we'll just come back. We'll be reincarnated, because they will know this. So they also will not be worried about time and so obsessed with doing everything only in their lifetime or this. This is why I say humans are at a very big disadvantage, and also we get tricked by this because that time works against us. How should I put it? You know yourself. I had it there. We can't really see. We can't see that big picture then, because we're limited only with our last 10, 20 years or even our lifespan. So we don't realise that changes are happening all the time. We can't see when we're being manipulated and the changes are taking place. We can't see that our world is being taken over in different areas. Some people would call it progress. I say you might call it progress, but it is a change, and they're being done gradually over long periods of time by our standards, short periods of time by other top human beings, or much less the God entities that live for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and that, it's so yeah. So I can't look back to. I can only look back over my life. And even then, we don't tend to go and say, maybe it was better before the internet came. We don't do that. Maybe it was better when I was younger. Maybe we had more freedom. Maybe things were, we don't do that. Maybe the food was a bit better. Maybe the stores were a bit better. I'm just throwing things up here. Maybe things were more natural. Maybe we did things a different way, but it was better for us. Maybe it was more healthy. Maybe it was more better for our world. And this is actually true if you look back, but we don't tend to do that. And then we tend to think that we have to fight one another to change things. But it's all a setup, everything. Everything. I better close off because I'm exhausted. I've gone on, but everything is a setup. And it is so tricky, so complicated, only because we don't notice it. We should be noticing it. If we really got a little bit of a grasp and that wool was pulled a little bit like it should be happening now, instead we've got everything coming down to stop it from happening. And this is why most people are not seeing it. They should be. And under even slightly less diabolical circumstances, they would see it. But they're really being hit hard. So even though I get angry about it, and I'm like, why are human beings doing this? Why are they even working against me? And I know why, but it still doesn't stop me being angry about it. But at the same time, I do have to stop and say, hey, they are being really hit hard. And they don't know they're being hit. They're hitting me hard, but they don't know that they also are being hit hard. They are having the wool pulled right over their eyes to where, at a physical, psychological, emotional, and every single level, and intellectually too, and because the God parasite entity knows what their weaknesses are, knows what they're thinking, knows what their beliefs are and all that, they have the upper hand. So they can hit human beings at every angle to keep them from seeing the truth and to keep them working for them and keep them suppressing the ones that should be raising the vibration a little bit, so that it becomes a total thing to where we're all basically going down. And this is the problem. So it is hard for me too, because then I have to say I shouldn't get angry about it, but at the same time, it's like, you really have to open your mind completely. But it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to say why do I see people around me doing clearly something wrong that a spiritual human being, even myself before I woke up, would have probably not done some of the things that some people do. I've done a lot of wrong things in my life, I'll tell you that, but that's usually when I've been filled with fear. And the fear is set up too, that's a setup. But generally, if I'm neutral about something, I won't stick my nose into someone else's business or act on some information that someone tells me about other people or a situation or stuff. I've never been like that. And the God entity is not too happy with people like me like that. They prefer where they can get everyone to run around doing wrong things in the matrix, shall we say. That isn't to say that I have not, even just by doing nothing, as I have done most of my life, obviously you're still working for the matrix. You're still working for the God entity. But I'm sure that, you see, they have to know, as I said, if I was a singer, I had that potential to be a great singer, the God entity would have to say to himself, how can I get that person to sing and seduce the masses? Now, if that person is a very spiritual person, and I want that person wants to sing, that's natural for them if they've got an ability to want to do that. How can I get that person to sing, but at the same time sing songs that are bad vibration? Can I get that person to do that? How much money do I have to offer her? How much, what do I have to offer her? And will she buy it? If you are a person that they know will not buy it, then they will have to stop you from being the great singer. You will never be a great singer. In other words, if you're not going to work for them their way, or at least bend a fair bit their way, they will know what they can get and what will suit them and what they will accept. You are doing a deal with the devil, literally. In this world, you cannot help but do a deal with the devil, because it is the devil's domain, if you want to look at it that way, and that's why they have those sayings, and it's true. So there again, I've rambled and went all over the place and probably confused you. I haven't confused myself, but I know that I've let my mind just flick around as though I'm just having a random conversation. And this is what I really am doing, but I'm hoping that some of you maybe agree or get something out of it. But like I was saying too, just it come back to me, the aeroplanes, the synchronicity. That is part of a little bit of an ability. This is something that that we have all had in our life, to where you see something and then there is a connection later on, but it doesn't ring bell, you don't get it. Whereas now, even that happens to me to where I get it. Like when I mentioned the plane's coming over and really driving you nuts now. I used to see a big sign years ago with aircraft noise and to do something about it. A huge sign every day. Totally ignored it. And I actually would have actually said, if someone had asked me, I said, oh, I don't care about aircraft noise. Now I'm bombarded with it. That's what you call synchronicity and a wrong timeline too, because there again, that shows you that timelines mean nothing to these beings that control the thing. See, this was years ago, and now it rings true as though it was instantaneous, as though it could have been yesterday. That sign was telling me, get out of where you are. There will be aircraft noise. It will annoy you. It will be an alien, toxic environment. But of course, how could I have known? Because I didn't know anything then. But the synchronicity was there. Now I would see it. If that happened yesterday and I saw that sign, and I saw a plane, might just be able to pick it up. Not then. But now I do see synchronicity and are able to pick it up a bit more. This is part of an awakening, I may not be raising the vibration, but certainly there is a little bit more awareness. And this is something that humans were definitely meant to be getting more awareness. Sometimes you have to be shocked into it. I was shocked into it, really, but I still think that at this time, if we were not bombarded with everything, if we were not in a total technical world, even if the God entity controlled this world as he does and always has done for an awful long time, if we were still in the more natural world, because to be honest, regardless of what civilizations have been before and have fell, maybe if Atlantis existed, okay, it must have been technologically advanced and it destroyed itself, whatever. But just in the knowledge and the information of the history we have, we think that at the present time we are the most technologically advanced or have the most technology that we have ever had. And this is true. So I've lost my train of thought. There again, the mind parasite has got me. But what I am saying is that, let me try to get back on track. If the God entity, even if you go like over the last few thousand years, whatever, I'm trying to, because I'm not good at the history and stuff, we have not had technology, right? Not that we know of. But even then, the God entity still controlled this planet, this earth. But he just used different means. He just used the mind psyche of getting humans to fight with one another, shall we say. It's never been a high vibrational, full earth. Almost ever, you could say, or at least in the history or the distant past that we know of. It might have been on the verge, like it is now, of people waking up and seeing how fake the world is, how much of a video game, virtual reality world it is. Even if you just take it as a real world, they would start to see that they have lost control of their actual control of the earth, that they have no input, that they've let their freedom and stuff be taken from them to some extent. They're not as free as what they should be or would like to be. And this has always been the case, but it's always been manipulated, whether it be psychologically, physically, or whatever, by the God entities and those that operate for him. But now, at a crucial time, when I don't know why, this has probably got something to do with the vibration of the universe, you could almost say, I suppose, that humans were meant to be given a big chance to wake up, to access more of their awareness in their mind somehow, to where they would see, through the veil you could say, would see that their earth is not under their control, shall we say. Whichever way you want to look at it, whether you want to take it to extra dimensional beings from somewhere else or that have been here, or whether you just want to say it's just humans that have taken over other humans even. In the past, this was done still at a natural level, to where we still were in contact with nature, to where we still, where we did just have more ability to think a little bit more clear. Whereas now, at this crucial time when we were meant to be waking up, and everyone would have woke up if we were in a natural world, or a relatively natural world. I personally think, this is just me, that if we did not have so much technology around us, that most human beings would be seeing exactly what I'm seeing now, all of them, without a doubt. It's that we're being bombarded with the vast technology, and vast technology that is stopping the frequencies of the human being from seeing what is almost in front of them, or just even looking around, you could say. They dismiss even logical things now, because they'll go onto the computer to find an answer for something. If they see something with their own eyes now, people won't even acknowledge what they see with their own eyes. They're likely to get their computer out and say, what is it I just saw? What is that? What explanation is there for it? You know what I'm saying? And I've seen this myself. I could use examples, but I'm running out of time. So this is how it's got. And I could use examples. I realise I'm going too long and the sun's way up. But the technology, is stopping that awareness happening to most humans. And it's a crucial time, I've been told, because it's a span of time when it's imperative that it does happen, because we are headed down further away from our natural origins of getting back to the even remote possibility that we could advance as a human being again. By that I mean advance, just become what we're meant to be and what we are, and access all our abilities and be as we really were meant to be, instead to go down even more of a limited path where more technology will not only dictate our future and what we are, but will trap us more and restrict us more, and tell us how to think more too, because this is how technology works. It's alien to the natural human being, but it is a mass. If you consider that the world is totally fake and largely an illusion to us in a way, it's so false, then the technology is part of that, and that will take us even more into a world of illusion and further away from the natural world. And the natural world will also be affected too. In fact, the entity God is technological, as I said before, so he has no time for the organic life forms. He has no need of them. They do not sustain him, they sustain us. Technology sustains him. He does feed off, though, our negative energy. But I'm guessing from the information I've received that because it's a do or die situation for us, but it's also a do or die situation for the God entity, because if he has to deal with the potential of the whole human race raising their vibration and waking up, then he loses his domain. So he has to close that all down, even if he didn't want to, you see, because he's not looking at in the past where he just has a few enlightened human beings or a few. He knows that at this particular time it was meant to be the chance for all humans to uh, wake up, shall we say, see the truth, raise the vibration, and then just know more, and also see the fake world. That's mainly it too, just to see how much of a set-up video game it is, and to say, why have we let this world that where we really live be controlled by a technological force that we have no control over? That type of thing. It's a bit like that, you know. And once again, I've gone way off the track because not everyone is 100% spiritual human being either. That's another thing. That's another video, I guess. So not everyone is going to be interested in what I'm saying here. But I do personally think, and this is just what I think myself, that obviously every spiritual human being was meant to wake up at this time or in these periods of time. I don't know what the actual timeline is, whether it's 20 years. I don't think it's a real long time, to be honest. But I don't know. But the fact that everything seems to be urgently coming down on us tells me that it's a limited timeline, okay? That's just putting common sense together too, but could be wrong. I hope I am wrong, actually. But not all human beings are the same, as I've said before, in any way. A bit like men and women are not the same, as the thing that I rambled on about before. Men are stronger than women, but now women want to prove that they're stronger than men, or at least they will compete and they'll carry on. That's a deception too, because in the natural realm, that is just not a fact and can't be a fact. So if it is something that is now happening, I think we need to, pull the veil a little bit up there too, but I'm not going to go there. It's another discussion which I may or may not get into. I get a bit timid at times, about the things that I talk about. But people were meant to see all these things, and under natural, normal circumstances, they just see it all. But with a little bit of help, there again, you can even use technology to help us at this point. We almost have to, because if it is your enemy, you can at least use it a little bit for your friend, get a little bit, but you have to know where to get the right information, I suppose, because so much of it is not going to really help us at all, and it's not meant to either. It's a diversion. Most of what takes place on this earth at the present time is diversions, stage playing, acting by humans, acting by situations, all setups, all video game, all virtual reality fake. And it's very hard to ignore it or to even accept that it is fake, because it does create I know with myself it did create a big problem. Oh, well, who am I? What am I then? You almost feel like, do I even exist? What is it? What's going on? You really don't. Even now, I still think that I'm like, you just feel that you are in an alien world, and that you've just been plonked here in a minute's notice, and you're terrified in a way. And this is actually the truth, because we are in what I would technically call an alien world, but we just don't know it. We think we're in a human natural world that we've just buggered up somehow. No, we are in an alien world. We always have been, or since intervention. And I will like to get back to that living library, but a business of how we originally were and what I think we originally were and what happened. And I did do that in the previous video, but I didn't go as long as what I have today. So the gods are being generous, shall we say, if you want to look at it that way. But that's true. But at the same time, you know, I find it kind of almost a little, to say sad is an understatement, because it's, and yet it should all be all over right now. Like, everyone should just be waking up and aware of this, and the problem should almost be perhaps at least halfway solved. And instead, we're almost being shoved further down into the hole, because that's imperative. Because, as I've said before, if this is why I say, if it's not true that we're all about frequency, vibration, and we have some control over things, or should have, this would not be happening. This is how I see it. It's not, nothing is accidental, and this is all designed so that we are taken from our natural way of looking at things, way of feeling, and the natural world. As I've said before, you know, even about myself with the water, you know, like, you just know these things, and you put it together, and then you, with knowledge as well, truth though, I should say, with truth, not with knowledge, not with information, with truth, because in this world there is a lot of information, there's a lot of knowledge, but is it true information? Is it true knowledge? Most of it is not. That's the problem. And if human beings are at a higher level, their intuition, which is another undervalued gift that we have, yeah, that, like the synchronicity of seeing something and then being able to say, hey, that's something for the future, or that's something that's happening now, where you just automatically click, you know, and you say, hey, that's telling me something. And this is it. We have the intuition and the mind parasites, which are getting to me right now, which is why I'm getting a bit angry. Even nature can be used against us too. I mean, we're meant to be in sync with nature. But don't forget, this is something that I realised recently. Even nature is under technological bombardment as we are. Nature is also under, in this matrix fake world, it also is able to be manipulated, unfortunately, by the technology, whereas it's really meant to be only operated by us, I would say. But we don't manipulate it. We're not meant to manipulate it, and we wouldn't manipulate it. We would just be in sync with it. But we would be able to communicate with it, is what I'm saying. Yeah, we would be able to communicate, whereas now it's communicating also with the technology and the forces, the dark forces, shall we say. So this is another thing that is disturbing, for me anyway, and maybe for others too. But essentially, if the technology was gone, nature would go back to its interaction with us. We would benefit from nature, nature benefits from us, etc. It's like that, I think. And yeah, because it was meant to be a living library, a natural, organic, living library that was meant to develop in a unique place with unique beings, including us, to where us as unique beings and organic life forms were just meant to be and develop that way. I can't even imagine it, because it obviously never happened. It was not allowed to continue or to be left naturally. As I said in the previous video, I think it was a previous video, So, so we have the world that we have now, which is, well, you can see yourself. I'm trying to find the words. It's almost burning up. It's almost, I can't find words. All the life forms on it are being um, well, I suppose you could say really being made less in every way, all the life forms. And, you know, if you look at the history of the Earth too, you know that a lot of species have become extinct, and we have killed a lot of them off too, which is a terrible tragedy in the sense that we have gone so far away from what we are and what we are meant to be, and have become so unaware of what we're doing, shall we say, because we're closed off. So we have been conditioned, tweaked, you could say, to do a lot of negative things, even to our other life forms, our species and things. We've seen this. So even the species that have died off haven't died off by direct contact with the negative entity, God himself even, or even, but he has been able to convince us to do the negative things on his behalf, which is kind of even more of an insult in a way to us and to whoever, whatever set up the original organic, natural, living library that was this earth. So it's kind of that way. It's like saying to whoever set it up in a funny kind of way, a bit like saying to God, oh, look, this is what I have done with your creation, or your seeds for creation, with your what was meant to be. We've not only stopped that from happening when that creation and those seeds are greater than the destroyer, but we have controlled and stopped that from evolving and happening. And we also have made your creation and those seeds destroy themselves, one another, and all the other life forms. So we're throwing it up double. See how superior a God I am, or the negative God. See how superior I am to you, you creative, positive God, because look at what I have been able to accomplish on your living library, earth creation potential for totally transforming and showing the universe or universes or whatever you like what is really meant to be, or what is the best that can be. Instead, look at what I can do, and I have changed it all, and I am more powerful in a way, if you want to look at it in that fantastic way. It's just come to me. It's like that. A bit like, I see that so much when I look at a lot of things on the world now, where there is a lot of throwing up as if to say, look at what I can do. I can turn everything around, because this world is like that. It's a reverse world, it's a duality world. Um, there is love and hate, but that love hate even is used to create a negative thing. Even love in this world is used for a negative purpose. That's how bizarre, how far gone it's all gone. I could use examples, and I see it, and I'm like, wow, what, if you're a master genius, but you're in a negative frame of thinking, and a chaotic frame of thinking, and a duality way of thinking, and a opposite complex way of thinking, and you like to create chaos. You like to create an ordered kind of chaos. The God entity likes to create an ordered kind of chaos in a funny kind of way. He knows what he's doing. It's chaos, but there's still a purpose behind it all. A method in the madness, as the saying goes. But we as humans, we can't see it because it's too mad, it's too crazy, it's too far-fetched. We couldn't buy it. Even I find it unbelievable. And this is why it's not plausible to people. This is why they needed the vibration, the frequency to raise, to be able to see it, because it's too unbelievable. It's too it's too complicated and too much beyond what we would consider possible, and what we would even think that anyone or anything would or could do. But we don't, but also we don't know that we have got a master genius, negative entity with vast technology and vast experience and vast information that we've been deprived of, working against us. We have actually done a remarkable job, in a funny kind of way, at the limited level we are, to have actually survived and not be totally wiped out. And I'm sure that's come pretty close on occasions. But humans have always, as I said, somehow fought back. I've seen this when I've looked over the little bit of history and thought, hey, we have, even when we have lost large amounts of our human population, then we'd have a baby boom or something like that. And the God entity must really get angry, And so I nearly got rid of those humans. I really had them under the thing. And then now they start with this baby boom and breeding and taking back up, because he doesn't really want to have astronomical amounts of human beings, especially not at this time. Because if you have, it's okay to have a large population of humans, provided they're all working for you, worshipping you, or suppressed, or right down to where you don't know, or to where you wouldn't make a choice against it, okay? But if you have a vast amount of the population that wake up and then have a choice, and have a clear choice, and can see both sides and can see the truth, and you, as a God entity, surmise that they might just go to the light, positive side of things, as opposed to continuing to worship the dark side, you might say, hey, that could lose me my domain, my dominion. Oh, that's what I would think if I was the God entity. And so therefore you'd say, hey, it would probably be better not to have a vast population at that time then, because otherwise you're going to have too many. If they decide to not go with the dark and decide, hey, we might just be independent and be free and go light, or whatever, if you're looking at that way, then you want lesser numbers, because lesser numbers means that you could control that easier, even just at any level, I suppose. The more numbers you have, and more so if you've already got a certain percentage, say, and that could be a lot higher than what we think. There again, I don't know. Working for you, that will be loyal to you, even with a vast awakening, they probably won't turn against you. And they might already be aware of certain things anyway. I don't know. Certainly, some human beings would be totally aware of the situation, and they like the dark. They've made that choice. You know what I'm saying? Just as some people right now could be listening to me and might say, hey, don't care if what you're saying is true, don't believe it probably anyway, but we like technology. We want to be technological. You know, that's a choice. My only thing, I've been thinking this for quite a long time, is my only thing would be that the best situation is where we all have what you call an informed choice, okay? An informed choice, not a choice where you're only getting one side. Even I would have to say, hey, regardless of what I think or know about something, if any human being is given a totally informed choice, then, and they have free choice, free will, that's the way the universe evidently works, then there's nothing or anything that I or anyone else can do to stop that free choice or to intervene and say, hey, you're wrong, you can't make that. No, that unfortunately, that's not how it works. Even if you believe really in your heart and you really say, hey, they might say, hey, I'm quite happy to be a lesser. I don't think that I can get to that high vibrational level, and heaven only knows you haven't been able to either. So I'm going to go with what I know. It's even if it's limited, don't care. It still might be more comforting. I will, if I got there again, I'm using dark and light as an example, but I'm going to go with the dark because I don't think that I can get to the high vibrational light level, and I've got so bogged down in this physical earth. I'm quite happy with it, and if I can get some goodies out of it, that might seem like exchanging gold for a cheap steel or something, but that's a choice. All I'm saying is that I would like it to be where, and it certainly is not the case, where at least humans are given a totally informed choice, and rather than being shown the truth, as we all are all the time, because we have to be shown the truth. But unfortunately, we are shown the truth, as I have for a lifetime. It's always hidden, but in plain sight, as the saying goes. But to where we're shown the truth, but we don't fully get it. We don't fully see it as truth, or we dismiss it. We have the free choice, and that then means that the God entity has given you the choice. He's shown you the truth, but you've dismissed it, or you haven't taken that to be a truth, or you think it's not possible, or whatever. And he can still say then, look, I've shown the person the truth. Okay, they operated that way. They chose fear. They chose their indoctrination or whatever. They chose their conditioning. I can't be held responsible for that. They were given the truth, was shown to them, and they went with the dark. They went away from advancing as a spiritual human being, or even just as a human being, really. I mean, I use the word spiritual and stuff, but really, if we really are spiritual human beings, it's just a human being. It really just means that we're not operating, we have not been operating and have not been allowed to, and do not operate at our full potential. As I've said before, like a bird that can't fly. That's just the example I always use, because I think it is sad that we're all birds that can't fly, because that's what a bird is meant to do. And that would be depriving that bird of its greatest ability. And humans are depriving themselves, and have been deprived. It's not their fault, it's not my fault. I know some people say to me, oh, you're just making excuses. I've had people say that to me, you're making excuses for your own pathetical life or for all the bad mistakes you've made. And I could buy that. I could say, well, there's a bit of truth to that. But at the same time, if it really is a setup, I still had the choice and I made the wrong choices, but I certainly didn't know I was being set up. And although I will say this right this very minute, and I'll close off here, I still have choices. But this God entity, he really has the upper hand, because even now, I know what choices I should make on certain things. But at the same time, it often is a catch-22, where even if you make what you know to be the right choice, there will be negative consequences. Sometimes you are looking at the better of two evils, which is kind of sad too. In other words, sometimes I think, hey, you just can't win, and you really can't in some ways. You certainly can't beat as I've said before in another video, you can't beat the Archon God the way the setup is now. You can't beat him at the present time, and we haven't been able to beat him since almost the beginning of time. You can't beat. You have to accept, but you can only do what you can do really for yourself, and that's really the simplicity of it. Is that the joke of it is, which is ironic to know that the solution is so simple and still not to be, or humans, if you like, because we're all beings, really. They're different types of beings. We're a certain type. There's different beings, evidently. The only real way that you can really kind of win, if you want to look at it that way, even though I don't like to use that either, but it's as simple as that thinking, behaving, and just feeling a certain way is the only way that you can actually get out of the matrix, shall we say, or let the matrix not destroy you or deplete you or stop you from being what we were meant to be. But that's really the only way. You cannot beat a God entity that has full dominion over a world at his own game, because he already has everything in place in his monopoly game, shall we say, in his video game, in his virtual reality game world. We've given that over to him. Even whether you worship him or not, you've given him your world. That's it. And you have to accept that. I think I need to close off now because I'm quite exhausted and I have went for a long time. I'm surprised I almost would have been glad if the God entity had closed the video today because I've exhausted myself. But and I'm sure I probably went on for so long that it probably bores and is too long for most people. I know myself, I can't watch videos for real long, even as good as some of them. I know myself, I can't watch videos for real long, even as good as some of them are. So that's another thing that without going into it, that the God entity doesn't give us very long attention spans. He likes to keep us agitated and going from one thing to the other, to where we don't focus long enough. Sometimes really we would be better, and I say this even for myself, if we slow down and focus just on one thing at a time, even for myself, if we slow down and focus just on one thing at a time and really took it in, instead of this business of, the time angle. Oh, I've got so limited time. Oh, which is true. That's all part of the setup too, to get us into the time mode, to where we haven't got enough time even to get the truth. Or to even enlighten ourselves in any way, shall we say. And so then we'll enlighten ourselves in any way, shall we say. And so then we'll be flicking from video to video. I know I've done that myself. Like I would have turned myself off 10 minutes in, quite frankly. And this is it. There's none of that relaxing, and I'm going to really take this in and listen and just relax and even somehow enjoy it if it's possible. So yeah, just relax and even somehow enjoy it if it's possible. So yeah, so that's another trick of the matrix and of this control kind of fantastic, insane, confusing mind mind it's I can't use the words mind. It's just a mind game world. Yeah, a mind game. It's just a mind game world. Yeah, a mind game that you can't win. You have to play in it. You're forced to, and you can only focus on the things that you can see and put it all together. That's really all you can do. Some people are doing that better than others. I've still got things to put together. I don't even want to be playing it. Yeah, I do. I think that got things to put together. I don't even want to be playing it. Yeah, I do. I think that of it. If you don't play the game, you've already got the upper hand. But how do you not play in a reality that's going off right in front of your face? See, it's very hard. That really takes a big mindset to do that. That's the secret, really, is to just try to not play the game, to not fight against the game, because you can't beat a game that you have no that that you don't really have. You can't pull the levers. You can't pull the strings. It's not a game that you can do little things. The strings. It's not a game that you can do little things. You know, you can try to really only affect other human beings a little bit. That's the most you can really do in this game, and even some of those will be so much part of the matrix and the game, and they will be serving the matrix and the game, that you will not really be able to infiltrate or actually affect them much. But I'm not sure about that even 100%. I'm not sure 100% about that. As I said before, we're spiritual beings, our thought creates reality, and we're all connected. Before, we're spiritual beings, our thought creates reality, and we're all connected. Now, how much of that connection is there to every being, or what beings, I'm not 100% sure at this stage. But I do think that domino effect, that business of if you can change the vibration of a certain number, that it does tend to infiltrate the rest. And even if the vibration infiltrate the rest, and even if the vibration itself doesn't infiltrate, in other words, if I was able to rise my vibration, that doesn't mean that I'm going to raise. That doesn't mean that I'm going to raise the vibration necessarily of someone next door. Not if they're very much part of the matrix. Maybe not. I could be wrong about that. It could be that it's possible for every human being to actually do that. I'm not sure. But either way, if I'm doing something and I'm happy, I will have an influence somehow, even if it doesn't actually raise their vibration as high as mine. So that it's quite possible still that they will, and they still might want to just be with someone who's of a high vibration, or they might be with someone who's of a high vibration, or they might interact in some way, or they might take notice of what you say or something. I don't know. It's complicated. I'm not sure how it fully works. I'd have to see a bit more and look into it. And it would vary because we're dealing with so many complicated situations, so many different types of human beings, and some that are more accessible to another human being than others. Some, I still think at this stage that a lot of human beings are still, despite the fact that they're really playing in the matrix and working for the matrix, and this is so obvious to me and to some others, some human beings are still open access to other human beings. They may not be against the matrix or the God entities or anything, but they're still open to something better if it was presented to them. If they thought it was better, they've still got a little bit of, you could almost say, I suppose, they've still got a little bit of, I don't know what word to use. Is it sense? Is it human? Or I don't know. I'm trying to use the right word because I don't want to offend or even get it wrong. But it's like maybe they're just more still open to a bit of truth. I don't know. Maybe that's putting it the right way. Because I think most of us have sort of closed ourselves off to everything and to the truth, and we don't even know it when we see it. But I think that I think with a lot of human beings at the present time, and I could be wrong about this, I could be giving them more credit than what I should. They could be more closed off. I don't know, but I do think that probably, and this is just speaking from my own self, if you're not even presented with the truth or information, how can you possibly see it? Unless you just automatically wake up by the vibration, and that's very hard to do in this world. Or they come down on you so hard that you sort of say, hey, what the hell's going on? Because I'm not giving myself any credit for waking up either. I'm actually saying, hey, I was hit. In other words, the matrix come down on me. That's why I woke up, because I'm like, what's happened to my world? Why is this happening? Whereas if that doesn't happen, and it doesn't happen to everyone, and that may have been because I was about to raise the vibration a little bit. I'm guessing that, okay? That's what I think was happening, and that's certainly how I felt, so it backs it up for me. I know it for myself, but I can't prove it to other people. But, and so, before that I thought, oh, maybe the reason that the matrix has come down a bit is because maybe I look for practical reasons, logical reasons, the real world reasons. But then when I realised that even the real world wasn't what I thought, then it was very easy for me to say, if the real world is a lot more technologically advanced than what I thought, then it is reasonable for me to assume that a lot of other things are not what I thought. Whereas most people are not put in that position, so therefore they will have to wake up by a harder means. They won't be both cursed and blessed, because to me I did see it as a curse, and I still do, because it's too difficult to live in this world when that happens. But at the same time, I would probably be in the dark still, maybe, but probably not, because if you were just naturally going to raise your vibration, and that was only because I had seen things, woke up at a personal level. What I'm trying to say is that while I thought the world was a reasonably safe place and reasonably natural as I thought it was, in other words, I didn't think it was a video game. I didn't think it was a virtual reality world. I didn't think that there was powers that were actually manipulating and controlling every action and every scenario. I didn't think it was, like the old saying, the world is a stage and we're just players and it's all acted out. I didn't think that everything was a setup and there was all this synchronized stuff going on. No, I thought it was all just random, and that occasionally, so in that scenario, it was reasonable for me to think that if I had woke up to the mistakes I'd made and the people and stuff like that, that maybe I had a chance of actually, for once in my life, making a little bit better life for myself. But that was my mistake, my delusion, because I did not realise at that point that, but of course the Matrix does, so it's like, hey, she'll just raise her vibration naturally herself now that she thinks that there's a chance of making a good life, and that she doesn't have to do anything. That she will just almost become content because she's free of negative people or this or that, and she will not make the mistake of and she'll be a bit more knowledgeable now, a bit more aware of when she spots a negative person, whereas in the past she's like, everybody's the same, most people are okay. If someone says they like you, they probably do. No reason to think that someone says they like you and they really don't. But now I'm like, hey, Human beings have been conditioned, traumatized to where not all human beings are just looking for love or understanding or a little bit of this, a little bit of that. There are some very negative human beings. Not their fault, but negative human beings like to drain and get negative energy out of other human beings. Even human beings that are not doing very well, they will still do that, just as the God entity needs the negative, low vibrational energy. And he has created humans that are now so far away from what they were meant to be that they are more like him. Most of the planet is covered by human beings where they're either totally kind of controlled by the matrix, mind control, that type of thing. In other words, they're operating for the matrix whether they know it or not, but then there's a large percentage now that are negative human beings because of the setups and they've been put into where they are not loving human beings because they have never received love, they've not known it, and they've had to protect themselves by developing a fake personality, and that personality leans more towards negativity rather than positivity. They're not going to want to be in a loving, positive relationship. They're much more like the God entity, where they're more into feeding off the negative energy and controlling and dominating the more passive human beings, shall we say. And they will do that by different means, just as the God entity will do it by different means, depending on what I or the other more passive human being is like. They will, operate differently with different human beings. But some of, a bit like if you're very submissive, they won't have any problem saying, you do this, you do that. Whereas if you're a little, not quite so much, they might have to kind of trick you to doing what they want by using even love, fake love. Fake sympathy, fake understanding to trick you into giving yourself over to them. And then they will, once they've got a hold on you, then they will create the negative energy to where you will not be happy. You will be giving up a certain amount of your own freedom for this, and at some point, this is what happens in these sorts of relationships, is at some point the more passive human being realises that they've been taken over and that they've given up too much. A bit like is happening on a big scale on this world, where humans are giving up their natural kind of free spiritual being over to the system, over to the matrix, over to the God entity. They end up to where they're trapped then, to where they're no longer what they were meant to be, or they don't even feel right. You know how when you're in that relationship, you start to feel as though you're no longer yourself. You start to feel that you're just a thing. You're just at the mercy of the other person and at the mercy, and it's the same with the world. We're at the mercy of the God entity. We're at the mercy of the system of the world that operates around us. This is, we're not free spiritual beings at all. We're not even just free basic human beings, if you don't like me going that spiritual thing. But like I say, I think that's just what spiritual just means, that you are kind of I'm trying to think of the words, but spiritual doesn't mean that you're religious. It just means that, I think I better close off, because I have to look for words, and like I say, I'm tired now, so, but it doesn't mean, a lot of people have that spiritual religious connection, and it's not about that at all. It really isn't. It just means that you are Well, let's just say that you're the opposite to unfeeling robotic type technology, or that kind of logical, intellectual, unfeeling, unemotional, unspiritual, if you like, being or way of thinking. It can be a being, but it can be a way of thinking, and the two are the same. You could be a being, human being, whatever. And it's it's just a different thing altogether. And you either get that or you don't, I suppose. Even I get that, even though we don't always operate that way. But any time you do something genuinely compassionate, shall I say? And when I say genuinely compassionate, I mean genuinely compassionate, where you're not doing it for a gain or because someone's watching or because you get something out of it. In fact, you may even find it difficult or even negative, but you feel compelled to do it because your kind of spirit says, hey, I can't walk away from something. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that. Better get on that phone. So thank you for